Hi everyone, I'm going to look at a limit hold'em hand from live game yesterday. In this hand, I opened in the hijack with king jack off, got 3-bet by the button, and decided to call. It's important to note that I do play 4-bets in this spot against a lot of my opponents, and I would have a 4-betting range here, so I'm looking at this sim with my 3-bet call range completely capped. You can see I can't have any hands like aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace, king, etc. Anyway, we got a very, very good flop of king jack 2 rainbow, and I checked. Villain basically range bets here, which is what I would expect in game. And my first decision point was whether to fast play or slow play flop. In game, I decided to go with a check raise, which felt natural. And I'm very happy to see that I did, because as we can see in Pio, this is a flop texture that we want to raise a lot. I would guess people way, way, way under check raise this flop in this situation, even knowing that my range is completely capped to not having aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace, kings, etc. The main factor is that I just fold all of these middling cards and bad ace-x that are kind of dominated. So I don't peel this flop that often. And as a result, I just need to start raising for value with my good hands. Villain should take a free card in the turn way, way too often. Notice that king jack is a pure check raise, which is good. Most king x are check raising for value. Decent number of jack x even check raising for value. Jack 10, jack 9, queen jack, some ace jack. Notice that ace jack check raise is less because it blocks ace high, which is a hand it wants to get called by. So ace jack blocks ace queen, ace 10. Whereas a hand like queen jack has less ace high removal, and a jack 9 even better in some ways, although it's just a little more dominated. And then finally, I would throw out there that notice where some of these bluff check raises come from. The obvious one is queen 10, which mixes between check raise and check call. A less obvious candidate might be something like ace 4 suited, ace 2 suited, ace 3 suited, ace 2 suits for value, ace 3 suited, ace 4 suited, and 4s is sort of like a mergey kind of a hand that's for value, but it really, really would like Villain to fold whatever he has since he has a lot of equity. So it really looks like here any ace wheel with a backdoor flush draw is a decent candidate for check raise bluffing. Anyway, I did raise. Villain basically peels here pure, and we got the 9 of hearts turn, which I thought was good for my range, but a little bad for my actual hand, because obviously Villain's going to pick up a straight draw and things like that a lot. We can see Pio agrees. It's a complete range bet, and nothing too noteworthy happened on the turn. I bet and didn't get raised, which would be a nice sign. I think if I got raised here, our hand is good enough to 3-bet, but we can take a look at that really quick. And I'm wrong. So in this situation, Villain will be raising too strong of a range to 3-bet, and as a result, we just need to play passively and only 3-betting with queen 10. Let's see if we find any river check raises on like a random offsuit 3. And the answer is no. We just play completely capped strategy here. We're just afraid of Villain's premiums way too often here. He has sets that we can't have, and he has plenty of queen 10 suited combos himself, and it looks like we just want to play a defensive and careful strategy here. Anyway, Villain did actually just call, which made life a lot easier. However, the river was an offsuit 10, which struck me as a particularly bad card. And we can see that Pio agrees. It is now only betting 50% of the time. And King Jack is a pretty low frequency bet, all things considered. I do note that the EV difference between bet and check is basically very, very small. It's like maybe $1 or $2 mistake in this 50-100 sim. Or 100-200 limit hold'em sim, but the frequency thing does jump out at me. It looks to me like the problem with betting King Jack is we simply can't get called by it. We block all the hands that we really want him to call us with, right? We basically just bet for pure value with any of our straights. Anytime we have a queen in our hand, we're betting. So we're just, if we check, we have a very capped range here, which would tell me that we're going to check and only ever call. We're never going to raise. Notice that King 9 wants to bet a little bit more than King Jack. And even Jack 9 is a little bit more tempting to bet than King Jack for 2-pair value, because these hands can get called by hands like Ace Jack, or, let's see, Jack 9 can obviously get called by Ace King. So when we do bet, we see that, Ace King is pure calling, Ace Jack is mostly calling, and even mixing in a sliver of bluff raise once in a while. Whereas aces can actually mostly, can mix a fold and 0 EV here. So the card removal effects get pretty interesting on the river in this situation. However, if we check on the river, now Villain will go ahead and bet for value with all his 2-pair plus, and now King Jack actually just functions as a very nice check and call, since we can now beat a lot more value hands. In game, I got raised, and I decided to fold, and real quick we'll just look here and see that King Jack is totally 0 EV versus a raise. I have tons of straights to call with. I think it's a pretty reasonable hand to bet fold, all things considered, but in retrospect, wishing that I had gone with the check and call play and get to showdown.